All right, in this explainer, we're going to walk through the essential best practices for using the PC Guard software protection system. Getting these things right from the very beginning, it's going to mean more secure applications, a lot fewer support tickets, and just a way better experience for your end users.
Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. We're going to follow the path you take as a developer. We'll start with the absolutely critical project setup, then we'll move on to hardening that protection. After that, we'll talk about improving the user experience, and finally, we'll wrap up with automation and those final checks you have to do before release.
Okay, so first things first. Let's get the foundation of your project built correctly. These are the settings you absolutely, positively have to get right from the moment you start a new project. So let's kick things off with what is, and I'm not kidding here, probably the most important setting in your entire project, the application signature. The best way to think about this is like it's the unique DNA for your application's entire protection and licensing scheme. It's kind of amazing what this one little setting does for you. I mean, do you want to push out updates without making your users reactivate every single time? Or maybe you have a suite of applications and you want to bundle them, so a single key activates everything. Well, it's all handled by making sure they share the exact same application signature. And here's the thing you absolutely have to remember. Your project file isn't just a one-and-done thing. You're going to need it again and again. You'll need it to generate activation codes and, maybe most importantly, to protect all the future updates of your application. So seriously, treat these files just like your source code. Back them up, keep them safe. All right, so we've got our foundation solid. Now, let's build on it. We're going to look at a couple of really powerful techniques you can use to harden your application against tampering and, reverse engineering. Think of the protection interface as a direct line, a bridge between your own application's code and PC Guard's protection code. When you use it, your app can actually actively check its own license status. It can handle licensing tasks. It can even pop up custom activation dialogues. This direct link makes your security so much stronger than just a basic wrap and protect approach.
Now, for something even more powerful, let's talk about runtime encryption. With RTE, you can actually go in and pick out the most critical parts of your code. We're talking your key algorithms, your secret sauce, and keep them encrypted, even while they're sitting in memory. The protection code only decrypts them for the split second they need to run. This makes it incredibly difficult for an attacker to figure out what your application is actually doing.
Okay, security is obviously critical, right? But if your users have a frustrating experience, that's a whole other problem. So now we're going to shift gears and focus on a few common issues that can really annoy your customers and look at how we can fix them before they even happen.
So you start getting support tickets. You're seeing error 5 or error 0. What's going on? Before you panic, you should know that these errors almost always point to the exact same problem. Your user is trying to run the application from a standard or a restricted user account, and the right permissions just aren't there.
Luckily, the fix is pretty straightforward, and it's a two-parter. First, you have to go into your project's settings and make sure that the Support for Restricted Users option is enabled. That's step 1. Step 2, and this is crucial, you have to tell your users that the very first time they run and activate the software, it has to be done by an administrator. This sets up the license correctly for everyone on that machine. You might think customizing the UI is just about making it look nice, putting your logo on it, but it's actually a security step too. Just renaming the default interface.dll file is a really simple but effective security trick. And on top of that, if you replace the default dialog boxes with your own, it not only looks more professional, but it also gets rid of default text that could give attackers clues about what protection system you're using. All right, we're in the home stretch now. This last part is all about automation and those final crucial checks you gotta do before you ship your software out the door to your customers. I can't stress this enough. Before you ship anything, you have to test. And here's a pro tip for your testing strategy. When you're playing around with different protection settings, use unique, temporary application signatures. Call them something like test0001 or test0002. Why? Because this keeps your tests isolated and prevents a failed experiment from messing up the license data for your official builds. When you're starting out, the GUI is fine. But to really get professional and scale up, you need to automate. PC Guard's command line interface lets you plug the protection process right into your automated build system. And for handling all those activations, the Activation Center, or ASIN, is a really robust solution for automating that whole process for your clients.
Okay, this is super important, so listen up. Digital signing. The order you do this in is everything. Get it wrong and it just won't work. Step 1, protect your application. Step 2, make sure the Prevent File Modifications option is turned off. And then only as the very last step do you apply your digital code signing certificate. If you sign before you protect, the protection process will change the file and break the signature. So always sign last.
All right, let's do a quick recap. We've covered a lot, so here's a final checklist of the big takeaways and the best practices we've gone over.
Seriously, if you can build these 7 habits into your standard workflow, you're going to have more secure apps, way fewer support headaches, and honestly, happier customers. Every single step here builds on the one before it to create a really solid professional protection strategy.
And look, this is just a guide to the best practices. There's always more to learn. The SoftPro Knowledge Base is your best friend for digging deeper into any of these topics. So I'll just leave you with this question. Which one of these practices can you put into place today to immediately improve your application's security and your user's experience?